Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fishing for Answers with today with Jason Loomis from Freshworks. He's their CISO over there. I'm really excited to get to know him. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Jason, as Josh just introduced me. I'm Chief Information Security Officer for a company called Freshworks. Freshworks is becomes the sales marketing solution provider for ITSM and CX, AI centric. Who isn't using AI in their marketing terms these days? Everyone. Been with Freshworks for about 2.5 years. I oversee a cybersecurity team, GRC privacy operations of about 70. It's awesome. One of the happiest jobs I think I've had as a CISO, and that most CISOs out there are probably nodding their heads. Where can I get a happy job like that? I got lucky. I've been in security for about 12 years now. I've been a CISO probably for the last 10 of those. Worked for fast fashion, worked in SaaS before this company, and been in tech for, I don't want to date myself, but let's say on the lower side of over 20. Started in banking and finance. Spent 8 years trying to figure out what I want to do as a bartender in restaurant, and was going through the 20-year junior college route. Eventually did graduate, got my undergrad and my grad over at University of Oregon, my undergrad at University of San Francisco. I'm a Bay Area native, currently residing in sunny and on fire Los Angeles.
Okay. Hopefully the fires are far away from you.
Yeah,
Well,
I am not one of the unlucky ones that's on fire.
okay. I heard the weather's calming down today. Hopefully that stays.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. It was the Santa Ana winds come in, and that's just, you never know where it's going to go or what direction. And that's why it's been such a crazy red alert for the last week. But I hear it's settling down. I'll hopefully give the firefighters a chance. And so far, I hear it's about 20% contained for Palisades, about 40% for the one on the East Eaton. And hopefully in the next week or two, we'll see some progress.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to have you here. So, what initially got you into cybersecurity? What was the thing that made you say, "I want to do this"?
Fortune and glory. A little bit of Indiana Jones fan ever since I was a kid. Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. No, I was bored in IT. So I worked in IT engineering. I got my start in network operations, and then IT engineering more on the strategic side for a bank called Mellon Bank of New York Mellon. And I was kind of bored. I feel like, okay, I've built data centers. I've done the server architecture. Sure, they come out with new technology, but it's just not, I don't know. I was getting kind of bored and slow. And at this time, when I was in it, it was when you heard security, it was, okay, do you have a firewall? Check. Do you have antivirus? Check. You're secure. Pretty simple stuff back then. Right around the time that it was booming and realizing, hey, that's a growing industry, and look how fun it is. Like, you have bad guys coming at you. As in IT engineering and operations, you have, the worst case, stupid people coming at you that, or accidental stuff happening, not actual threat actors trying to do stuff.
Right.
So that's sort of an exciting part to the job. Being a blue defender and defending against that is pretty fun. So I got lucky and was able to pivot.
I went a different direction. I heard that I could hack for a living and said, I got to get in on this. And I mean, no joke. The day I discovered Backtrack Linux, I quit my job because I went and told the guy that I was working for. I was like, man, I'm going to go become a pen tester. And I was in marketing at the time. That's what I went to school for. And sure enough, I don't know, like 8 weeks later, I landed my first job. Wasn't a great company. I don't even think they're around anymore. But it allowed me to springboard into running one of the top red teams in the country just a few months. Well, I don't know, probably a year and a half after that. But yeah, no, it was an awesome experience. But for me, I really did want to make that merge or that crossover from the red offensive side over into the defensive. And I was just convinced that we could use social engineering, the exact same tactics that are used against us, to make our people more secure. And so that's sort of where I've made my mission, if you will.
Yeah, that's great. Great application of the social engineering too, because you only hear negative connotations with it. You don't think, hey, why don't I just use the same psychological warfare against my users, for my users?
I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily psychological warfare. I like to call it behavioral science. But I mean, there are tactics that work. And I'll give you an example. So our subconscious brain it's responsible for many things, but one of the jobs that it has is to protect us from threats. And those threats can be anything from a stick flying at our face when our hands just go up and or our eyes just close, all the way over to digital threats. And so, if we can train people about what those threats look like, things like urgency, authority, the simplistic aspect of how they're used, and when they become aware of these cognitive biases that they have, all of a sudden it creates what I like to call human virus definitions. And there's this behavioral science principle called identical elements theory that talks about how when you learn about something really well, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And so I believe we can implant human virus definitions. So you learn about urgency really well, and all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere. And by the way, the classic example of that is you buy a new car, you drive it off the lot, and you start seeing that same car you just bought at every other traffic light. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it's happened to me. And I think it's an interesting way of looking at things. And so that's sort of one of my perspectives at how do we actually drive this change. So let me ask you, you obviously have a great culture at your current org. Otherwise you wouldn't be talking about how you love your job, right? So what are some tips
True.
that you found to effectively drive that culture?
I would say one of the things is don't expect your company or your HR department to do it for you. I think as to the leaders out there, I'll probably talk contributor level, but for the leaders, managers, you can drive the culture of your team, and your team culture may be different than the company. That's just true. So this idea that, we have a company culture here, guarantee every team within that company has sort of a subculture. Sure, might be some driving themes for the company of, hey, we're just a very fast, agile company. Great. We're doing duct tape and baling wire because we're a startup. Sure. But each team is going to have their own. And you as a leader absolutely can take it upon yourself to build and drive the culture that you want within your team.
I agree. And I mean, I do think it's a very social role being a CISO. I think that's one of the aspects that, a lot of people, maybe more junior in cybersecurity, they look at it and they think they're going to be doing technical things, but really your job's very social. Would you agree with that? Am I right? Am I wrong?
Incredibly, it's the only way, at least with a larger organization. So if you're a startup of 100 people, great. You don't need social skills. You need to be a good tech. But when you get to enterprise at the level I'm at, that's how you get things done as a CISO. Isn't, hey, I know technically how to go secure Kubernetes. It's getting your developers, getting it in their pipeline, getting it to the left, and that takes relationship building and relationships across the teams. You cannot force security compliance.
And it's
some Fed might be able to
on all the cool new features of this MDM either, because they don't care about the MDM. Care about what the MDM can do.
They want to be able to do their job. We want them to be able to do it securely, and we got to talk and figure out how to do those things together.
I heard one person say, we're the department of yes, but. I like it. It's better than
I'm in the department of yes, and then we'll figure it out. Yes, we'll figure it out.
Maybe it's yes and instead of yes, but. Okay, so one of the questions that I love to ask every time is, if you could just pick one and you had to stick with that for the only tool you used in your arsenal to drive that culture change, you going to go with carrot or are you going to go with stick?
Oh, is this a trick question? Carrot, always the carrot. Always.
I've had people answer stick before. There's still a huge team stick out there. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's if I'll expand on that a little bit. Why is as a CISO, you have all the responsibility and know the authority. So sticks only work when you're in a military environment, people are directly reporting to you, or there's some consequence of the stick, and I have limited ability to affect consequences on people.
Let's talk about the consequences, though, in the stick approach. Okay, so let's say you do have the authority to run a 3 strikes and you're out program. Would you?
3 strikes and you're out. You
Yeah.
mean termination is the
Yeah.
ultimate strike? No, I wouldn't. I never. In my policies, there are, and I've seen this where policies are okay. What are the and some compliance requirements? What are the what do you call it when the punitive? What are the punitive effects of failing to comply with a
Yeah.
policy? And I've seen compliance frameworks that want a okay. What are what's the where's the write up? Where's the escalation of the termination for punitive? I never put punitive in my policies. Absolutely, there's not even you won't even find it. So you know what? I'm going to fail that part of the audit. Sorry. I'll find
I'm with you
compensating
there. I don't
controls.
think we should be punitive. I think that if we want our people to care about cybersecurity, and it's more than just phishing. Phishing is just the surface level stuff. It's the tip of the iceberg, but we truly have to have our people care about cybersecurity, because if it's not phishing, it's poor password hygiene. If it's not poor password hygiene, it's maybe not patching something, or whatever it happens to be. There's this million layers of human error, and to me, the only way we stop that is by shifting culture, and that's making everybody security aware, not afraid.
Yeah, agreed. And let's get rid of passwords
Oh
soon,
my God,
sooner
I
than
wish
later.
we
We're getting there. We're getting
And
there, but let's move
yes,
faster.
can
and
everyone
get rid of-
just start using passkeys on everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. In fact, I'm working with a friend right now to help them lock down some stuff sort of on the side, and that was one of the things. Retired executive, but just wrapping his head around the fact that it's much more secure if we just get rid of the password than when we still have the password there. And I think that's shocking to a lot of people. Maybe not in cybersecurity, but people that aren't in cybersecurity, man, they're still used to all the bad recommendations, like, hey, your password needs to be 8 characters long and have 3 out of 4 on complexity.
Yeah.
That guaranteed I could get into any company, by the way. That password policy, when I was a hacker, I didn't have to phish you, because I would just guess winter 24 right now.
Fair enough.
Capital W, 3 out of 4 on complexity.
Right.
But no, I agree, and I'm a really big fan of just rewarding people, and I don't think it has to be really complex rewards. I think something as simple as, "Hey, great job," when they report, is a way to drive better engagement and make the users care.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can
go
I
for
want
it.
to chime in on that one. One of the things for anybody listening, when what Josh just mentioned, whenever you're reached out to from security, whether it's a developer or someone reporting a phish or someone, and even if it's a spam,
Yeah.
which we get a lot of spam that's reported as phish. You don't go back to them and say, "Oh, that's just a spam." You say, "Thank you so much. This is amazing. Thanks for looking out for us. You're the watchers on the wall. You're the first line of defense, man. This is exactly what we need. Thanks a lot. Oh, by the way, yeah, this was a spam. This was an advertisement, but man,
Yeah.
thank you." Because if you start doing they don't know what they're doing. They should have seen that was a spam. Or expect them that they would have gotten the training to know that was a spam. You're immediately going to get negative where they don't want to share again, and they're not going to want to share. And it's all about the carrot. You want them to feel good about what they did.
Agreed.
And I'll take 100 false positives, 100 spam notifications from someone to get that one from Josh that was a true positive phish report any day of the year.
I completely agree. Everything with users, I mean, we need to get less out of that, hey, you're an idiot mentality, and more
Yes.
into we all have our own things that we're gifted at. And for us, it's security, and for others, it could be development, or whatever it happens to be. So I think we do have to shift that mindset. Now, it does come naturally. I will say, what was the first thing you learned when you got in tech? Was it not something like PEBCAC, or you can't patch stupid, or the ID10 tier?
ID10, it's an ID10T.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Help desk. When you're in help desk, you definitely know that that's where I learned. And I started in help
I
desk.
started doing IT support too. I wasn't help desk, but it was nonetheless the first thing I learned. So yeah, no, I like it. Okay, so let's jump from carrot versus stick over to AI. Lot of opportunity, a lot of threat. And at minimal, it changes security awareness. What are you thinking of and about how we need to train people when it comes to AI?
How much time do we have on this podcast? There's a lot with that.
There, I know there's a
Um,
lot. Exactly.
yeah. So there's for me as CISO, I'd say there's two parts of AI in my life as CISO. One is our company's use of AI for productivity purposes to make our productivity better. So things like using, ChatGPT on the job. There's training for that of how to properly use and what to look out for. Actually, now there's 3 prongs. The second prong is AI as a product. So a lot of people might be listening, might have as part of their product, they're offering AI. So they're building models in-house. They're working with Hugging Face, so actually building AI into their product. There's training that we need to do with that, with how to properly control an AI environment that we're responsible for. And the third one is, what are the AI threats, which you have up on a nice graphic of that. I'm trying to figure out what movie that is. It may have been AI generated. So there's the AI threats and how that might affect what to look for and what to be aware of. So which one would we want to start with?
Oh, I know. Well, I love AI threats. I've actually talked to 2 CISOs now that have seen deep fakes targeting their organization. I'm curious, have you seen any of this yet?
Now, not directly targeting our company or our team, but for me, that's an awareness challenge that you try to address as best you can. We addressed ours. We do quarterly training videos that are actually, we create them each quarter. So we make them fun. They're less than 3 minutes and they're funny and engaging. And the one that I did got a lot of traction. And it was where we created an AI version of me. And I came in going, hey, everybody. And they're used to seeing me on some of these videos. I'll do like one a year. So, hey, this is your CISO. Hey, great company announcement. We're getting rid of passwords. You no longer need to log in. You can now connect your personal email to your work email and all these crazy things for security. Went for about 30 seconds to a minute. And then I come in, the real me, and go, wait a minute. That was not Jason. That was an AI replica of Jason. And then I talk about how good this AI is going to become. And what are the mitigations and the things you should look for, and what should you do as a control? I didn't talk like that. I didn't say, here's your control, but what are the ways that you can control for this? And it's, hey, if it's a crazy ask of gift cards or write me a check or a bypass a standard process, you need to get, trust, but verify.
Well, and I mean, at this point, if it's gift cards, it's a scam. Don't, if you're a boss, ever ask your employees to go buy gift cards. It's just.
But that is, can we talk about that? So that's, especially in your realm of awareness training and what you're doing with training, is a lot of times in security will, for example, these quarterly videos, they are a point in time training. But what happens is you have turnover, you have attrition. I have a whole new slate of employees coming in over the next year. But we tend to get stuck in this mindset where we go, oh yeah, I already trained the population on that. Problem is, at a 20% attrition rate or 15% attrition rate, 20% plus just new hires next year, a fifth to maybe even a quarter of my team have not seen that video and may not be aware. Some of them could be fresh out of college. Some of them may not have a lot of work experience to know better for this stuff. So it's another thing to keep in mind when you're doing your training is, what is my audience today? What was it a year ago? And don't just assume because I taught them a year ago that they're going to remember it, or that they even got it in the first place. So it's something that you need to continue to do.
And there's a lot of studies that are showing that once annual training does 0 to actually improve your security posture, particularly against things like phishing attacks. I came from a marketing background, and I guess it gives me a little bit of a different perspective, but I've been sort of raising the flag for a while and saying we need more marketing in cybersecurity. And when I say we need more marketing in cybersecurity, what I mean is it has to be continuous education. We need to treat security awareness like Coca-Cola treats getting you to buy from their brand. And when you look at the trends in advertising, when you and I were I guess getting into this industry, ads were 30 to 60 seconds. Now ads are 5 to 15 seconds. It's rare that you even see a 30-second long ad. And the reason is because it's been proven that the tinier the bytes or the bits of information that you give people, and the higher the frequency, the better retention you get. So the same tactics that work in advertising will absolutely work in cybersecurity. And it deals with your problem of they haven't been there, because if it's continuous and you're constantly training people about cybersecurity, it gets ingrained in the culture. And just because I'm teaching you about passwords today doesn't mean that training about passwords today doesn't make you a little bit more secure in a different area, because it's reminding you that there is a threat out there targeting you.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, sorry, I got on my soapbox. Um, so what do you think about role-based training? So to me, I think role-based training is how we make training more impactful to that user. But it's a massive task or undergoing for anyone to really be able to do. I'm curious, A, what are your thoughts on role-based training? And B, if you are doing it, what roles are most important?
Yeah, it's a good question. The level of effort to do that at an organization of my size is overwhelming to do it right. Just that there's no solutions out there or help yet. AI may change that I can that I get the bang for the buck. There's no ROI for me in it. So if I'm going to teach something like business email compromise that's really targeted towards FP&A folks, I'm going to send it to everybody. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I think this is something good for everybody to know. Everybody could get an email from an invoice from a vendor. Oh, hey, I'm a vice president over in engineering, and I got this invoice from Amazon. Oh, I need to get this paid, and it may miss checks or something. So I actually limit the amount of targeting for those mini bites. And now think about it. If you want to, for the annual training, all those companies out there have a solution for you. Here's for your HR training. Here's your development. And we all do that for the annual. But like you just said, that training doesn't really get you anything. And I agree. The annual training, I'm trying to get rid of. I do quarterly training and then short video bursts of over a period of time. But then I have to go, if I'm targeting multiple audiences, I got to go build that short training across multiple audiences for multiple content. It's just not currently, with the technology that's out there and what I use to create that, isn't available.
I might argue there's one technology out there, but that we keep this product agnostic. But what about things like developers and OWASP top 10 training and stuff like that? Are you doing any of that?
Yes, that is a unique, I would call that a unique use case when I talk security. To me, when I do security awareness training, that's general population. That includes developers, but that's more of the enterprise portion of their job. When it comes to job specific training for people writing code, that's a whole nother level of training. And yeah, absolutely. We use a very good product, but it's a product. So it's providing the content and the integration with them, because you want to put it in their IDE. You do not want to go send them somewhere to watch videos. So when it's in the IDE environment, so they're at their keyboard writing the bad code, they get the, oh, hey, you just wrote SQL injection. By the way, if you want to learn how not to do that, hey, go over here. And then it's the competition, the gamification, how are you rewarding? How are you doing that carrot to get them to want to watch the training and get them to, we're doing a relaunch because we didn't get a good, we had maybe 15% of developers using the platform after we first rolled it out 6 months ago. I'm like, that's crazy, especially for when I'm paying for it. I'm like, let's relaunch it and let's do a tournament. Let's have an actual, coding tournament where we're giving out big prizes and get some engagement built up, make them take the first 2 modules and they enter the competition. They get their name sprayed across the entire company. They got a really nice first place prize kind of thing. And yeah, so, but there's a lot of work with it. You don't just buy, for everybody listening, you don't just go buy your training platform, slap it up and send them some emails hey, don't forget to take your training. It's a great check the box exercise for compliance, but you're not getting any value out of it if you really want to reduce risk.
I like what the approach that you went to with the OWASP top 10 training, having it in the IDE. I think that I'll have to get the name of the product from you after the call here. But very interesting. Okay, so what type of fish are you seeing? Have you seen anything recently that's particularly scary?
To me, no, but I have experienced in my past the scary ones that that it was the it's the credential compromise. Those are the ones that scare you. The ones with the authenticator, and then they phish you, and then you get the connection, and then they're a man in the middle attack to get when you have MFA and you get compromised. That's really bad. So I've had that happen, and those are the fishes that used to scare me until we put in prevention mechanisms for those. But anything that gets my credentials, that's the worrisome ones. So hopefully everybody listening has MFA and not SMS, but has MFA. And hopefully you have good controls around that to prevent that man in the middle attack that you're going to see happen with phishing emails.
Yeah, the one that I've been seeing a lot of is the consent phishing. So tricking you into authorizing an application, and often in the process bypassing MFA because you were already logged in. But I've been seeing a lot of that one lately. What I find interesting is just the volume of targeted fish. And when I say targeted fish, it doesn't necessarily have to be super sophisticated, but I consider something that targets my finance people with a finance themed attack targeted. And I've seen that type of thing just increasing by drastically over the past 12 months. Are you seeing an increase in the frequency of attacks and sophistication?
Nothing that I can correlate to anything other than somebody became aware of us. So, we have a certain sensitive customer group that are targeted. Because of that sensitive customer group that's on our platform, we will get our customer support people targeted with phishing. Like, for example, somebody posing as a customer, I got locked out of my account. You need to get back me into my account. Help. I'm going to cut you the typical urgency, the typical I'm high up. I got to get my access back right away. My baby's crying via email or even chat. We've had, chat fishes like that they're trying to get in, trying to fool our customer service to give away credentials to a customer's environment through phishing. And we've seen targeted specific customers and very specific targeting of, I want to get into this account and this customer. And it's usually a group of sensitive customers that we have.
Yeah. One of the CISOs that I talked to recently, he had a large call center, and they were seeing deep fake phone calls hitting their call center. And I imagine that's probably the first place we're going to see it is on, over voice. I know we've seen it with video, but I think voice is going to be very prominent before video.
Are they impersonating? Is that what the deep fake is?
Yeah, impersonation.
Huh.
So
I don't even know. I don't know if I'd recognize my boss's voice on a phone call.
I don't either. I mean, in most of my social engineering that I did, I got away with just saying I was whoever I wanted.
Okay. Yeah.
There was one time I definitely got caught. It was the one time I actually used my letter of authorization. It's a funny story. I had called up. This place had just been robbed. It's a cash advance place, and it was supposed to have been taken out of the scope, but it didn't get taken out of the scope because some sort of breakdown in communication. So I call up this place saying, "Hey, I'm your head of loss prevention. Just wanted to stop by and take a look at some things." Forget what my exact pretext was. Well, he has a very distinct voice, as do I, and they're nothing alike. And because they had just been robbed, he had been on the phone with them constantly. So they knew what his voice was. So they freak out and they call the police. The police come and they wait there for like an hour and a half. Well, I was supposed to be on my way right away, but I decided I was hungry along the way, and me and my team, we stopped, we grabbed lunch, and we worked on getting some persistence on a few shells that we had. So then we head over to their place, and we start with the back because I don't want to be going to the front and then walk in the back. So I always checked if there's any doors open before I even start with the front. Sure enough, a smoker had left the back door on this place open. And so I walk into the area, and they've got the safe right here. And she's out, just right in front of me, and just freaks out, loses her mind, thinking that the place is being robbed. So I pull out my letter of authorization and explain it. But no, I felt terrible because I don't think I've ever scared anyone quite that bad. But I came up behind her, so that was what made it, I guess, uniquely terrifying. So, well, when you've done phishing simulations, have you ever had anyone get mad at you as a result of the phish?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had executives get pissed. But why are you impersonating HR? Well, of course we're going to fall for that. I'm like, well, that's kind of the problem, man. So yeah, I've received pushback. As best I can. I typically am able to stand my ground. Earlier in my career, I wasn't, because I was inexperienced as a CISO, so I capitulated on a couple of them. Okay, we'll pull that back. It's too scary. I get it. Now I'll be like, no, and I'll just be able to explain the story of why it's important that we impersonate. And of course, it came from HR because what happens when HR gets compromised and sends an email asking for this? You should know better than, we need to train that this can happen. Impersonation is real.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I do think, though, that there are ways that we can take the sting out of phishing. And I think one of the best ways is just tell them it's coming. Don't be sort of as sneaky about it. I love, or my tactic is warn employees. Hey, let me tell you about this fish that pretends to be from your HR department. Now be on the lookout, because the next time you see it, it might be us. And so even if they do fall for it, you've already warned them and they're not as upset with you. But what I like about it is it creates a hypervigilance. They're not going to fall for it. So whether it's you or the real bad guys, they're on the lookout, and that's what we want. So I've heard the argument that you shouldn't tell people before you run the phishing simulations. Sure, if you're doing it for a penetration test, I would agree. But if you're doing it for security awareness training, I think you should always tell them.
Yeah, we do. We do continuous phish testing. So we're continuously sending. It's a continuous cycle. Depending on how you fall for it or not, we'll escalate, and you'll get more, and then you'll have to be assigned training, and then you come back down in a category we only see once every 3 months. Yeah. But it even becomes a water cooler talk when people want to approach CISO. So I get approached a lot with, oh man, I fell for that one last week. You got me, dude. That was a good one.
I get a lot of those too. Yeah.
That's a great way for them to open conversation with me. They use it as this, okay, what can I small talk with Jason now that he's in the office and chat with him about? Oh yeah, that phishing email you got me with. And we have a funny landing page. So we have a great, themed, I think we're doing, forgot what theme we're doing. Mr. Bean is the theme this quarter, where it's like a Mr. Bean. Hey, here's what you fell for, and here's what you did. So people will say, "Oh, you got me. I saw Mr. Bean the other day." And
I get. I think that things like that are important. That's how they learn, and that's how we learn about that individual user's risk and what they're susceptible to and what we need to be worried about. And so I do think that phishing is incredibly important. I do think, though, that there is a method that if you do it right, it's not as invasive to users. Whereas if you do it in the way, I've seen some done where you're sending them to a landing page. There's nothing that will tell them that it's a phish ever. And you're missing out on that whole just-in-time training opportunity. Because at the moment they realize that mistake, they're uniquely susceptible to learning too. So that's why I like that you have the Mr. Bean landing page. It's not, will they type in their credentials? It's, hey, it's already game over. Let's teach you how not to even get this far next time.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, so we are running a little bit low on time here today, but before we wrap up, do you have any sort of best practices that you would suggest to people that are worried about or want to improve their human element?
Yeah, I'll go to what you were talking about, marketing. And I'm gonna bitch and moan for a minute.
That's the goal of this show, is to get you
Get
bitching and
moan.
moaning. Let's do it.
The frustration from a budget perspective that, we're always the CISOs and heads of security. We're fighting for budget dollars because we are not a revenue generator. We're not a cost reduction activity. We're a risk reduction activity, and you don't really allocate dollars to risk reduction. And it's hard to talk about ROI when you're just trying to reduce something that is ephemeral like risk.
Yeah.
So when it comes to budget, companies, this is corporate America, love spending on tools. Oh, I got this new software I'm going to buy, and great. Okay, here's the spend, and we know we can cancel in a year. And this. Hey, I want to hire a graphic designer, and I want to work with marketing to deploy monthly videos. I need a video editor. I want to do graphics. I want to make it engaging and funny and help with the writing. And I want to hire someone to run that program. And I need marketing dollars in this. You know what the odds of getting that through a budget when they're cutting? Why do you need that? We don't need that. And yet it is probably the most impactful program I have for risk reduction across the organization. So what's the advice for everyone? As best you can, you fight for it. You tell the story, you get that in your budget. You get a security awareness and training, and it's not just a piece of software. It's someone on your team that's doing it. It takes creativity. It takes time. It takes effort. You will get the bang for the buck. Invest in a great, to give Josh the plug, a good fish awareness training platform, one that can get you what you need. And yeah, there's, like he said, there are solutions out there. I'm probably just not aware of them. That can ease that, administrative burden. But one thing you can't ease is the creativity you want to put behind it.
I completely agree, and I will, if I can. Well,
yeah.
Continue. I just wanted to add.
No. That was my complaint. That's my complaint.
Okay, so I just wanted to add actually one thing to that, and that is, when you're creating these programs, it's not just about sending out content or sending phishing simulations. It's about creating those peer mentorship bonds within the organization, finding opportunities like you mentioned earlier. About the developers and how he was able to gamify it with them. Things like that. That's how we should be using gamification. That's how we should be driving our culture within the organizations. The sending the emails and stuff, that should be the easy part. It's that creative part that he's talking about. That to me is where the magic happens and where you truly get that culture that's just impenetrable.
Yep. Agreed.
Awesome. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. Any final words?
No. What do we don't panic.
Not final words in general, just said today.
Final words of my life. I'm signing off.
I'm done with the cybersecurity. I'm out.
I think 2025 is going to be a crazy year with AI, both from the threat perspective, but also for what we can do with it. And if you're not utilizing it in your day-to-day as a CISO today or as a cybersecurity practitioner, you need to. You will be left behind. If it's not part of your job now, it needs to be, because in a year or 2 years from now, they're going to look for if you're a cybersecurity practitioner and you're not using AI and you don't know how to use it, you're going to have a hard time finding a job. No.
I agree completely. AI is the future. I know I use it all day, every day. It helps me move more quickly. It helps me be more efficient. It helps me be more effective. And it's only going to continue to get better. We've got amazing AI news this week. And I'm excited for what the future holds. And I think that we're going to be able to do a lot more with the same size teams that have been, that haven't been able to get everything before. I feel like we're going to be able to have that force multiplier thanks to AI.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you everyone for joining us today.